Hey guys, so here I'm going to show you how I turned one winning hook into five different formats and multiple different iterations for ads. So, as a lot of you guys know, there are some ads you create that they win. They do a really good job, they're incredibly good, and they start to spend and to scale. So, let's start first by identifying the benchmarks and KPIs that I look for when I really decide I'm going to iterate on a specific ad. Number one, I have client KPIs, right? So let's say that we want a $45 cost per acquisition. We want a 1.7x return on ad spend at scale. And don't let that number deceive you. I know that every time that someone posts something on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook and you see them, hey, we had 2x, 3x ROAS. Yeah, but we're not considering a whole lot of scale. Some people can do that at scale, but sure, majority of the time that's not going to happen. And the top marketers are going to tell you the exact same thing. People who have spent tens of millions of dollars, some people who even spent billions of dollars, they're going to tell you the same thing over and over again. So with that said, we're looking at these KPIs and we're looking, can it handle spend, right? That's going to be a huge indicator. Can it handle spend? Can it hit target KPIs? And so can it do this consistently? And those are the three main metrics that I'm looking for. Once I identify what the hook is or what the video is that is doing incredibly well, that I'm able to eventually scale up and hit the client KPIs, what I'm going to start to do is start to go back. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly. You're going to go, what do you mean go back? What I mean is I'm going to go look at the ads and I'm going to go back to the market research. I'm going to say, how did I actually come up with that hook? That's going to be. So hopefully you've written down your hypothesis, the reason why you decided on that hook, the argument behind that hook and the messaging. If you haven't, then I'm going to create another video for you guys below so you guys can learn how to do that and so you can do it yourself. With that said, when you go back and you look at the market research, you understand this is the voice of the customer that I had. Okay. These are the words that they used. Awesome. This is the pain point or the outcome that they wanted and the desire that they had. Wonderful. So then we built all that out, which means we have it documented somewhere. So I start to review that argument. I review that messaging and I start to understand how did we come about that hook, right? Usually what you have, most people, they should have this if you're making really great ads, is a core argument that message came from. So this is the core argument, right? And I'm going to create another video for you guys on what the core argument looks like, but for now, we'll use it in this case. The core argument is going to be how would, if I was talking to a friend, present this to them in a way that makes them go, aha, that's exactly what I needed, right? And an argument doesn't have to be something that is aggressive, but it's something that actually can be used very persuasively. You can have counter arguments, you can have arguments that you use in order to install certain circumstances. So there's a lot of different ways. So let's just say that I went through and I identified both of those. Once I identified that, then what we're going to be looking for is, okay, what was the core messaging? What did I want to convey to the customer, right? How did I want to talk to them? Then I figured that out. Well, this is how I wanted to actually talk to them. I wanted to talk to them in a way that made it seem like I knew exactly what their problem was and the circumstance of the problem was and where they are in their current journey. So that's how my hook came about. That's how the messaging, that was the thought process. Then what I'm going to do is take that exact same thought process. I'm actually going to iterate on that messaging. I'm going to keep the same core argument overall. Let me give you an example of a strong core argument. Let's say that you are someone who is trying to bulk up, right? You're trying to bulk up, you're a skinny guy. The biggest problem isn't that you struggle to, let's just say this a little bit differently. The biggest problem isn't that you struggle to go to the gym and being consistent at the gym. You struggle to eat consistently, eat enough calories in order for you to actually grow, right? Because most people that are skinny, they're not looking just to put on fat, just to gain weight. They're looking to put on size, muscle, lean muscle mass, right? So the biggest problem is friction. So what we're doing is arguing against the friction, right? We are saying, look, the friction is that you drink these mass gainer shakes that cause bloating, that make you feel lethargic. And then we're creating and crafting the argument based around that for a specific type of avatar, which is a skinny person. If it was someone that wanted to lose weight, then the argument would be different. The friction isn't how much you can eat. The friction is, I am eating too much and I struggle to control my habits and my environment. And so we want to understand that, right? So that's different ways to approach it for different personas depending on our goal. So let's just say that we approached it. It's the skinny guy and has friction. That's the core argument. That's also, we have the core message that we're going to create. The core message is against the mass gainers. And we're going to focus on having some clean protein and also clean, something easy and light to eat. So we're going to talk about, hey, we are going to make this easier for you to eat more calories, for you to consume more, so that you can then put on size. That's the big promise, right? So then we take that big promise, we take that argument, and then we craft it in multiple different ways. We say, what other formats do they consume? So we can go back into Instagram, we can go to TikTok, and we can try to figure out other ways that they consume this material and other ways that people are framing it. So we take that, take the core argument, take the messaging, take the ways that it's being framed, and then take the formats. Then we look at it, let's say a before and after becomes really good. So that's a really strong hook. Would that strong hook also fit really well for before and after? Would that same message or the same argument work really well for before and after? The answer is yes, and I've iterated once. And then a second time, will that also work really well, this message or this core argument, as a long, 1,800 word native static ad? The answer is yes, then cool, we've iterated it twice. That is how I like to think about it. And if we iterate it again, then we think about, okay, now we've got the core argument, the message, and then what we want to do is actually start to build out additional videos. Now if we look at it, how can I reframe this exact same hook in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different ways? Can I introduce the problem differently? Can I include a different visual setting? So for Facebook to see it as something diversified, meaning if someone's sitting here like me, just yapping at the microphone, then am I able to have them sitting at the gym, yapping at their tripod and the camera on their phone? Are they able to do it in their car? Those 3 different visual scenes that we have. Are they able to do it while walking? Are they able to do it when they interview someone? Are they able to do it in a podcast style? Are they able to have a green screen reaction to something? So that is another way for us to iterate on best performing hooks and taking that and making it into additional ads. This is exactly how I do it every single time. So once I find the winning ads, once I find the winning arguments, once I find the winning hooks, I then take that, I create it, I iterate it, and I find what are the visual ways that I can represent this exact same argument, represent this exact same message to make sure that I'm actually going out there and doing the stuff that I need to in order to be able to put more ads into the account that I know that are going to do pretty well and that are ultimately going to help stabilize and scale the account. That's my ultimate goal, right? Another great way to do this is actually change the avatar and the persona that's in it. So if I come in here and I see someone that's, say the person that's in my video is 26 years old, what if I did it for an older demographic? Let's say I say 35 to 40 years old, male, right? What if I decide to do 26, but to female, right? And then that way is another way for us to iterate off it. You keep the hooks roughly the same and you keep the messaging and the argument the same, but now you've iterated it visually and differently. And it makes it super easy for you to go in there and actually create all these different iterations for your ads. And all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're going, oh my gosh, I have all these different formats that I can use. I have the different personas that I can use. I have different ways to introduce the problem and the arguments and the messaging. And that makes it for a lot of iterations that you can work with. And these iterations are super simple for you to spin up, especially on a weekly basis. If you're going to do majority big swings and a couple of iterations, you'll be able to do these in no time. And last but not least, usually a lot of people, when they iterate, right, they try to come in, the hook comes in, it's maybe, let's say it's stating a specific problem, right? Well, instead of doing that, I would like to iterate off of the hook itself and actually introduce it in a different way, more outcome focused. Are you someone who Are you someone who wants to put on lean muscle mass without the additional fat, right? Again, just giving an example here. And this is introducing an outcome, right? We're introducing an outcome as the hook instead of just a problem as the hook. So these are the 5 ways that I take one hook and then find multiple ways to iterate off of it so that I continue to scale the account and continue to actually build upon the success that I've already found. So cool, guys. So let me know which ones resonated with you the most. And yeah, we'll talk soon.